Future Gokin here, and it's time for Scuffed Gokin Impressions. Today we're looking at the Loscont Arm Battle Angel 003 Misty Rain. Yes, after low-key hating and completely shitting on their previous release, for some reason I was sent another one of these. Thank you, Gundamit. I guess I'm glad Loscont is confident. In what? I couldn't tell you. This figure was announced with this animated short, where decent 3D renders of their figures duke it out, in this fucking awful AI-generated backdrop, with potentially AI voices. Whenever I see AI being used to add additional production value to figure promotional material, I always think, why bother? I'm going to complain a lot about this figure, and I already complained a lot about their previous figure, but even these are better than AI slop. You only make your stuff look worse when you do this, which goes against the whole point of advertising, and ironically, for something that's supposed to add production value, it makes it look like you don't have a budget. Normally you'd have to pay for insights this good, but this one is free of charge. Don't fucking do this. So apparently their previous figure was just a grunt. Personally, I wouldn't say the previous figure looks like a grunt, but rather I'd say it doesn't really look much like anything, aside from not good. I do, however, take this as an admission of the fact that this design is incredibly bland. With that out of the way, there's the box. Let's now jump right into looks. I'm assuming she's supposed to be some kind of officer. That's all I got on the theme of this. The design in general, I think would fall under generic rather than bad, which in my opinion is an improvement. It's not as bland, nor does it have design elements that look stupid like the previous release, but rather it's just kind of boring, in a generic way. The face, on the other hand, is less boring. Instead, it's kind of obnoxious, and I don't like the look of it, but again, it's better. There's even a pretty obvious improvement to the face. This figure has articulated eyes, unlike the previous figure, which isn't the improvement. I'm honestly kind of sick of figures doing this. It's a feature I rarely use, as I end up obsessively making sure the eye placement doesn't look weird. However, the improvement is a byproduct of this, since the face now has to be designed to accommodate the eyes actually being separate pieces. This is a rare case of articulation, not being an eyesore the sculpt is compromised by, and instead actually improving the sculpted detail, because now the face has depth, and the eyes are actually round instead of flat. As much as I do not care for articulated eyes, I do enjoy the elevated level of detail brought by their inclusion, not to say they're objectively superior to printed on eyes, which do have their own strengths. This really fucking boring topic is something that interests the fuck out of me as someone who sculpts as a hobby, and I could probably talk about for a really long time. But for your sake, I'm just going to arbitrarily stop here and move on. Her clothes are, well, they're not really an improvement, in that the actual tailoring and materials weren't bad before, and much like the previous figure, her shirt dropped the R, but her bottom is basically fine, although her knife holder thing feels more out of place here, and for some reason her skirt includes underwear, which tends to shift to the side a lot, and does make removing the skirt more difficult. But even then, what is definitely an improvement is that removing these clothes isn't a massive pain in the ass, and don't require me to take the figure apart in a way that could, or I guess did, damage it. Yes, the crotch on the previous figure broke because I had to force the legs off, and then force them back on. If you were to ask, how destroyed is that pussy? The answer is, very. Let's now look at her without the clothes. The coloring on the robot parts, or whatever these brown areas of her skin are, has gradients, which is actually pretty cool, and is yet another improvement. What isn't an improvement, and is basically the same problem that I had with the previous figure, is that the motif of these gradient patches on her skin does not look cohesive. Why aren't these details continuous, or have any kind of flow? It is possible this is what they were going for. My best guess is that they want to emphasize the robotic elements of the design by committing to these segments being separate parts, rather than a larger whole that is only really segmented to accommodate articulation. To put it more simply, instead of these segments being there for articulation, the character is actually just segmented like this. These aren't compromises, they're part of the design, which if that is what they're going for, I don't think it works. The detail here feels more haphazard than something intentional. A lot of the detail isn't meaningfully visible, to the point you wouldn't know to consider it part of the design, and as a result, the segmentation feels more like it's just for articulation. An example of this idea working is the Shoujo Hatsudoki figures, whose designs manage to achieve this by not only having mechanical detail, but also by having their parts be shaped like something that would be on some kind of vehicle, rather than normal human anatomy, resulting in mechanical parts that actually do feel mechanical, and therefore visually justifying the segmentation of the legs. If this is what they were going for, it's kind of a shame it didn't really work out that way, because as much as I do like the Shoujo Hatsudoki figures, the cloth parts of the designs being made of plastic makes them kind of blend together with the rest of the parts despite how the finish on them is different. I wouldn't really want to change how these are made, but I would like to see an idea similar to this being done differently, specifically a figure with a mechanical design, where the articulation cuts are part of the design, that also uses cloth clothes, meaning such a figure wouldn't be compromised by being an articulated figure, in any of the ways articulated figures are usually compromised. And unfortunately, this isn't really that, as it utterly fails at the first half. My dumbass keeps writing things in the script, as if this isn't a video and therefore has a visual element, that I somehow have to account for with all this scuffed footage taken in my scuffed setup. As I'm writing this, I can tell already this is going to be a fucking mess, and I pray for the day when I can have some restraint. Articulation. I was told in an email that this is a rushed out production sample and therefore, I shouldn't be too harsh on the articulation, and if they think they can tell me to do anything other than whatever the fuck I want, they're in for a rude awakening. With that being said, and rather surprisingly considering this was supposedly rushed out, the articulation on this seems better than the previous figure. Sure, some parts are kind of too loose, but I never had to lube this one up.
Lube it up?
It isn't my preference to do this on something that isn't phallic in nature or is a whole, so I am appreciative that it isn't required here. There are still some minor annoyances. The knees bend forward a bit, which makes posing the legs somewhat annoying, doubly so because the legs are a bit loose. The waist joint is also loose and additionally feels like it'll pop off. The eye articulation doesn't seem to work. It is possible this is a single area where the joints are too tight. Do the eyes count as joints? Regardless, I actually wouldn't attribute this to the tightness of the eyes, but rather the little tool that they give you to move them. The tip is slightly too small, and possibly somewhat tapered, which means it doesn't fully fit the slot behind the eyes, and just slides out when you try to maneuver them. There might be some irony in putting your company logo on a tool that doesn't work, or perhaps you could find an erectile dysfunction joke in there, but I guess ultimately this isn't a feature I care much about, so it doesn't really bother me. Anyway. As much as I don't care for this character's face, I do like how sharp the details on them are, and the faces included here are at bare minimum substantially different. The hat, unlike the rest of the clothes, is made of plastic, and is attached with a magnet. It doesn't really look bad, I just wish the parts were separated by material, especially considering plastic and cloth look very distinct. You get 4 pairs of hands, which the other 3 of them come on this little rack or whatever this is, which has room for 5 pairs of hands, making the lack of hand options even more felt. I also do feel like this gun is fine. The design isn't anything special, but I'm also not gonna say it's bad. Supposedly you can attach it to her back somehow, but this figure doesn't come with a manual, and I don't care to figure it out. Speaking of figures, allegedly, this is a figure that that also allegedly comes with a firing effect for the gun, which works fine, as the design is not realistic, instead being more stylized, which is also fine. Much like these knives, which are probably the same as the ones on the previous figure. I don't care to check. And they also fit in her pants sheaths. While we're talking about sheaths, you get these unsheathed feet. Much like the previous figure, the joint comes out easier than the feet, so you'll have to yank it out. Lastly and leastly, we have the stand. Whoop-de-doo. It's fine, and attaches fine if not a bit loosely. It also comes with a claw, but fuck claw stands. Also no, this doesn't come with an acrylic standee like the previous figure, or at least mine didn't, which is probably for the best, considering the look of the standee absolutely mogged the look of the actual figure. Beans. Overall, I don't like it, but it is better than awful, so I guess it's recommendable if you actually like this design. And of course you can get it at Gundamit. As of writing, it's still available there, link in the description. But alas, those are my Gokin impressions. Make of it what you will. That's about it. Thank you to the patrons. Figures can be designed poorly, but so can minds. Here's an example of that. This patron. Thank you to my scuffed setup for allowing me to produce scuffed footage. It is not annoying at all to be stuck with this shit. Here's a peek behind the curtains. You see this light right here? No matter how much tape I put on it, it always eventually falls off. Fucking Satan in hell. I'll see y'all next time.